In this video, we test our Starlink Gen 3 while we're camping. Check it out. Hey guys, I'm Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. Well, today, and actually for the next 6 weeks, we are going to be testing our Starlink. We just got a Gen 3 Starlink because if you watch my channel, you know that not only do we do camping, hiking, and fishing videos and stuff all over America, but my wife and I own a graphic design and web marketing business called Kemp Design Services, and we need to work when we travel in order to continue to take all of these big, long trips. So we need reliable internet, and because we are on a trip from our home in Tampa all the way out to the Pacific Northwest and back, we're going to be in places where cell phone signal is not reliable, where internet isn't reliable, where there's no Wi-Fi, and we are going to need internet to be able to continue to run our business while we're gone for 6 weeks. So I thought I would shoot this video to test out our Starlink when camping. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you each one of our campsites, and I'm going to show you our Starlink setup, and I'm going to show you the stats so you can see how well Starlink works at various campgrounds and campsites when we have tree coverage, we have partial tree coverage, we're wide open spaces, whatever campsite we have, we'll show you how we're going to set up our Starlink to see if we can maximize its performance. And guys, we do have a sponsor for this video. I want to thank Keep IT Simple Computer Services for sponsoring this video. Kits Computers is a fantastic company. If you need IT support, if you need to buy computers or hardware, if you need service, they can remote right in. As a matter of fact, with our Starlink service, if we were having any problems with our computers as we're working, we could call our friends at Keep IT Simple Computer Services and have them remote log into our computers and fix any issues. So just love those guys. Those guys help us out so much, not only with our computers for Kemp Outside, but also our computers for Kemp Design Services. And when I told them that I was going to do this Starlink video, they said, we want to sponsor that. So thank you so much. Guys, I'm going to put a link down in the description below where you can check out Keep IT Simple Computer Services. My friend Jerry, who owns that company, does fantastic work, is a great guy to know if you rely on your computers, whether you're out and about in the wilderness or you're at your home office. So shout out to Keep IT Simple Computer Services. Thanks for sponsoring the video. Let's get right into our test. So today we are at Natural Falls State Park in Oklahoma. It's Colcord, Oklahoma. So it's just across the border of Arkansas, near Fayetteville, Arkansas. We are in Oklahoma, and we are in a campsite that I would call a moderately shaded site. So we do have some blue skies, but we have some tree canopy. So I'm going to show you the sky around our site, and then I'm going to show you how we have our Starlink set up. Check it out. Okay, so here's our setup. You can see our cargo camper and Delaney's tent. And there's Barb working on the picnic table. So I'm going to just pan up so you can see the tree canopy above us. As you can see, there's some blue sky. But for the most part, we've got some tree canopy. So I'll come back down towards the van. Right, so you can see good tree canopy there. So if you see out in the distance there, there's our Starlink dish. We have a cord running along the ground to our Wi-Fi router. Now, since it's a beautiful day and we're working outside at the picnic table, we just have everything set up outside with the dish out there as far as we can get it, trying to get it out of the tree canopy. As you can see, we had great download speeds, and upload speeds weren't bad either. This was perfectly acceptable to us. We could stream, we could download, and then we could upload files no problem. And then these were our obstruction maps. So you could see that we were partially obstructed, but we never had any problems with connectivity or speeds. Okay guys, we're at our second stop on the trip and our second place to test the Starlink. We're at Lake Scott State Park in Scott City, Kansas. Western Kansas. course, wide open skies. I'm going to give you a little shot of the campground and show you the specs from the Starlink. We're having no problems here. Check it out. If you can see there, I've got the Starlink dish on top of the trailer. I do have one tree behind me, but open skies all around. This is a beautiful park, by the way. Cool place to camp. Open skies. Normally I like a few more trees when I'm camping and shade, but for Starlink, doesn't get much better than this. So our next stop is going to be the Tamarask Campground at Boise State Park in Shoshone, Wyoming. I imagine that's going to be another wide open sky site. We'll find out. And then we are making our way towards Idaho and then Washington, Oregon, and lots of other places to test on this trip. So if you're interested to see how Starlink does, stay tuned. But guys, here are the specs from this park. So as you can see here, we had great download speeds and upload speeds were just fine. Again, no problem with streaming video or uploading files. And then these were our obstruction maps. And as you can see, there's very, very little red. We had wide open skies, so no obstructions means great continued coverage and signal. Okay guys, here's our third test site for our Starlink, and it's breezy today, so I apologize if you're getting wind noise in the microphone. We are at Boise State Park in Shoshone, Wyoming. Wide open. So we have no trouble with the Starlink. I'm going to turn the camera around and then I'll show you the stats. Here it is. Okay, so sitting on my picnic table, you can see the Starlink on top of the cargo camper, right? And of course it wanted to be faced that way. So that is the only tree near our site, but we have an unobstructed view of the sky, as you can see. And I'm just going to stand and pan around just so you guys can see. This is an awesome place. That's Boise Reservoir. It's really shallow right now, but just an awesome, awesome place to camp. It's a little windy though. Hopefully you can hear me. So there you have it, guys. No problems with Starlink here. Here are the stats. At this site, we had great download speeds again. Again, no problem streaming video or doing anything internet related. We also had good upload speeds. And then our obstruction maps are just as you would expect, with pretty much wide open, clear view, no obstructions. So again, great internet with open skies. Okay guys, it's stop 4 in our Keep IT Simple Computer Services sponsored Starlink test video. So we are at Bruneau Dunes State Park in Bruneau, Idaho. Stop 4, wide open skies, no problems with the internet. Here are the specs. So here we had the fastest download speeds I have seen yet at 421 megabits per second, and upload speeds weren't bad either. Fantastic internet service here. And then of course the coverage map with no trees meant no obstructions. We had a completely clear view of the sky, which is the optimal way for Starlink to perform. Pretty soon though, we'd find out just what trees would do. Okay guys, and I'm going to give you a little tour of the campsite here so you can see it. It's a little windy here, so hopefully it's not too bad. I'm going to reverse the camera so you can see our setup. Okay guys, so there are the Bruneau Dunes in the background. Beautiful spot. You can see our Starlink dish on top of the cargo camper. And of course, no trees, just wide open spaces. So we would expect Starlink to perform really well here, but I promise you we're going to get into some forested sites where Starlink may not work as well. Stay tuned. Okay guys, as promised, we did find a spot where Starlink is not very reliable. We are at Coho Campground in the Olympic National Forest on the Olympic Peninsula of Washington. And guys, this campground is amazing, but there is no cell phone signal, no coverage at all. And with all the trees, Starlink is super unreliable. When it runs, these are the stats. So we had the lowest upload and download speeds we have seen yet on this trip, and that was when it was working. We could do very limited internet searching, no streaming, and then of course these are our obstruction maps. So you can see there is some blue, so we were able to get some communications in and out, but most of the time we were obstructed with very little service. Okay, but as you can see from the camera in a second, there is not a lot of open sky. Let me turn the camera around and give you a little view of what we're doing here. Okay guys, so you can see I've got Starlink on the top of the Kemp bus. And let me just pan up here. We have a little hole in the sky. And for that, we have an obstructed view of the satellites. So as I come around here, I can't even put it on the top of the cargo camper because of the trees. Right, so I've got trees all around me. There's my Kodiak canvas. Love that tent. So as you can see, all around me are trees, all above me are trees. The only time we have internet is when a satellite passes into that open sky, which is not very often. We're able to get text messages out, but that's about it. So guys, I was obviously hoping that Starlink would work a little bit better with that patch of open sky. It's probably based on the number of satellites that are available. So I guess maybe as Starlink puts more satellites in orbit, you'll have more reliable coverage in places where you have an obstructed view of the sky. I don't know how it's going to be at our next stop, because our next stop is going to be in the North Cascades National Park, and I imagine we're going to have trees just like this. But we're going to find out. So stay tuned. And guys, sorry about the generator running. That's how we are powering everything right now, because there's no power at this campground. So that's okay. But stay tuned. On to the next stop. Okay, guys, I got all packed up and I forgot that I didn't do my Starlink video for New Halem Creek Campground in North Cascades National Park. So I'm going to just tell you that it worked. Here are the stats on the screen, and then I'll show you where it was set up. So our upload and download speeds varied very widely at this site. Sometimes it was super slow, sometimes it was faster. It did okay. We were able to send emails and download some files, but for the most part, streaming was out of the question. Here was our obstruction map, so you could see we did find a little bit of clear sky, but for the most part, we were obstructed most of the time. Okay guys, we are at Site 86 in the New Halem Creek Campground at North Cascades National Park. And so we were in an area where it looked like they had a fire, so it's a little more open. We had a pull-through site. And so I had Starlink right on top of the nose of the cargo camper, right there. And then I'm gonna give you a view of the sky. So a little more open than the last spot. So it was good enough to have Starlink. So fun fact about New Halem Creek Campground is that we get fantastic cell service here. So we didn't even really need our Starlink. We were able to use our phones as hotspot and do everything we needed to do. In fact, it did perform a little bit better than Starlink, especially on uploads. So that's kind of been our plan the whole time, is rely on cell when we can, use Starlink when we can, use both when we can, and when we have neither, well, we have neither. So that is it from New Halem Creek Campground at North Cascades National Park. Our next stop is going to be a campground near Mount Rainier in Washington, so stay tuned. Okay guys, it's time for our next Starlink test. We're at Silver Spring Campground in Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest, just outside Mount Rainier National Park. I don't think we're gonna get any signal here. I've got the Starlink booting up. I'm gonna give you a view of the sky and then we'll see what happens. All right guys, for this test, we have Starlink on the picnic table because this is our campground. I'm just gonna do a quick pivot here. There's my tent. There's the Kemp bus and the cargo camper. Now I could try to shoot the Starlink through that hole by putting the Starlink on top of the Kemp bus, but I don't think that's gonna work. Let me keep going around here just to give you an idea of the campground. Tripping over a rock here. Got a highway behind us. And then here we go. And then I'm going to pan up. So that is the hole we're trying to get satellites from. So we'll see how we do. I'm going to let it boot up, see what my stats are, but I'd be surprised if it works at all. Here are the stats. Well, guys, Starlink didn't work at all at this site. I couldn't even pull up the stats. So it wouldn't align. It kept saying that alignment uncertainty was high. Sometimes, even though the dish was laying flat on its kickstand, it thought that the dish was sitting like that. So it just, just wouldn't connect for any data. So I couldn't even pull down the stats to show you anything. So I guess that is that. Our next stop is going to be near Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. I can't remember the name of the campground, so in a few seconds in this video, I'm going to tell you where I'm at. I just can't remember where it is right now, but through the magic of YouTube, we are going to be whisked from right here at Mount Rainier to Crater Lake in Oregon, which is like a 8-hour drive or something like that. And we're going to test Starlink again. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, it's time for the next stop in our Starlink test. We're at Pool Creek Campground in Umpqua National Forest, right outside Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. So we are testing our Starlink, and as you can see, I'm going to do a little, let me turn the camera around. Let me do that way. Okay, so we're in Site 1 at Pool Creek. You can see our Starlink on top of the cargo camper there, at least the dish anyway. And so I'm just going to give you a look, 360-degree view here. Here's our Kodiak canvas tent. It's a nice campsite. It's on a hill though, so it makes leveling tents or trailers not so fun. There's Delaney's Merrimack 6 from Alps Mountaineering, in case you guys are looking at tents. All right, now here's a look at the sky. So we have a sliver of space, right? Okay, so that was a look at the sky. And so here are the stats. I'm going to put the stats on the screen for the performance. Download speeds were good when it worked, which helped with buffering for streaming. But in general, we were able to surf the web and upload files just fine. And then here is the obstruction map. So as you can see, we had quite a bit of blue with some surrounding red. So we did have some obstructions, but it wasn't terrible. Obviously, we do have an obstructed view of the sky. And so, we do get dropouts. But when the Starlink is working, and it is working enough to stream video, sometimes we get a little bit of buffering or whatever. But we're able to download and upload files. We're able to surf the web. We're even able to do some streaming off YouTube. So I would say Starlink is working. And it's surprising because this gap isn't much bigger than the gap at our last stop, but the trees are less dense. And so I'm guessing more signals getting through. But that's just a guess, guys. I don't really know. But anyway, that is the Starlink test for Pool Creek Campground in Umpqua National Forest in Oregon. Our next stop is South Fork Reservoir in Nevada. And I think we're going to have wide open skies for that. So we should have great coverage there. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to bright, sunny South Fork State Recreation Area in Nevada. It is time for our next Starlink test. As you can guess, wide open skies, fantastic Starlink. Here are the stats. We had great upload and download speeds in Nevada. We were able to do anything we wanted, from streaming video to uploading files, downloading files, surfing the web. Everything was great and almost a perfect obstruction map. Totally clear views of the skies as we expected since there was nothing overhead. Perfect Starlink conditions. Okay, and so here is a look at the site. I'm going to spin the camera around. You can check it out. We have our Starlink dish on the nose of the cargo camper. There's Delaney's tent. And the Kemp bus just kind of spinning around. There are a few trees here, but not a lot. The Ruby Mountains, which we're going to go check out later today, so be sure to check out that in the video of our South Fork State Recreation Area trip. There is the Kodiak canvas. Barb's working in there right now using the internet. We have this nice little pavilion over the picnic table because it gets hot here. It's probably going to be 95 today. And then, of course, blue skies. So with an unobstructed view of the sky, the Starlink is working perfectly. We've been able to send files, stream video, upload, all kinds of stuff. Starlink has been working great here as expected. Our next stop is in Dinosaur National Monument in Utah, where I expect more of the same. Stay tuned. All right, guys, I'm in Site 52 at the Green River Campground at Dinosaur National Monument. It's time for the Starlink test, sponsored by Keep IT Simple Computer Services. For all your IT needs, contact Keep IT Simple. They have all the solutions that you could need, whether you need to buy equipment or maintain it. So I want to thank Keep IT Simple for sponsoring this video. And guys, we are at Dinosaur National Monument in Jensen, Utah at the Green River Campground. And it is pretty wide open. So here are the stats, and then we'll show you the sky. So with a wide open sky that we had here, I would have expected better download speeds, but 206 megabits per second was fine for everything we needed to do, and upload speed wasn't bad at all. As you can see, our obstruction map was very, very clear. We just had a little obstruction on one side of the dish, but that caused no problems. All right, guys, so we're kind of in a pull-through campsite, but it's connected right to the road. So there's the Kemp bus, and then there is the cargo camper, and the Starlink is on top there. You can see it. The Kodiak canvas in the background, and then no trees on our side of the road, but we've got these big cottonwoods on the other side. And the only cottonwood that we might be getting any interference from at all is that one. So I'm gonna spin, and you can see wide open skies. So we've had no problems with Starlink here, no interruptions, good data flow. And that is a look at Starlink use in Dinosaur National Monument. Our next stop is Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park in Colorado. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, here's our second to last stop on our Starlink test across America, sponsored by Keep IT Simple Computer Services. We're at the South Rim Campground at Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park in Montrose, Colorado. Guys, I love this park, and Starlink is working fantastic. Let me spin the camera around and show you what we've got. Okay, guys, so there's the driveway. We got the Kemp bus there, and then, of course, we've got Starlink set up on top of the cargo camper. Okay, so, and as you can see, clear skies. So back in the trees there, if you see that tent back there, there's a tent, and then again, open skies. I'm gonna step this way. I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see up over the cargo camper. Don't mean to spin too fast. I don't want you guys getting dizzy. But as you can see, clear skies. All right, guys, here's the stats. Okay, we had decent internet speeds, especially download speeds. Upload speeds were decent as well. We were able to stream video as well as surf the internet and do everything that we needed to do. And as you expected, our obstruction maps were blue. Had no obstructions, which meant optimal Starlink performance. So as you can see, the stats work fine. The Starlink works fine. No obstructions means Starlink works perfectly. Guys, we haven't had any problems anywhere we've been when we didn't have obstructions. Our last stop on this trip is going to be from Zapata Falls Campground near Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, we are at our last stop. We are at Zapata Falls Campground in Mosca, Colorado, just outside Great Sand Dunes National Park. We're at 9,000 feet of elevation on the side of a mountain, running Starlink. This has been a test of Starlink all across the country as we're camping from our home in Tampa, Florida, all the way out to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington and back. And this video has been sponsored by Keep IT Simple Computer Services, keeping IT simple for you. For all of your computer and IT needs, call my friends at Keep IT Simple. They wanted you to know all about Starlink, especially when you're out on the road and camping. So, guys, we have wide open skies as we predicted and no problems at all with Starlink. Here's the stats. Pretty much what we've come to expect, around 200 megabits per second download speed. Our upload speeds were great here at 30 megabits per second, so we were able to do everything we wanted to do, and with almost no obstructions. Since we were on the side of the mountain with very little trees, Starlink worked great. Okay, so now that you saw the stats, I'm going to go ahead and flip the camera around, show you our Starlink setup here, and then we'll be back with final thoughts. Okay, guys, as the sun sets in the west and we overlook that valley below, or that plain at 9,000 feet of elevation, you're going to see our campsite on the side of the mountain here. There's the Kemp bus. There are the mountains. And then here is the cargo camper, and you can see Starlink dish on top. I'm just going to pan up so you can see no obstructions at all. All right. And then there's our Kodiak canvas tent and my son's Eureka Tetragon 3. So that's the setup here at Zapata Falls. Okay, guys, so on this trip, we set out to answer the question, how well does Starlink work while camping? And as you can see from this video, the bottom line is obstructions. How many obstructions do you have, and how bad are those obstructions? How much of the sky is blocked? When we were in the rainforest out on the Olympic Peninsula, we had hardly any Starlink at all. And then when we had wide open skies, whether that was in Kansas or Wyoming or Idaho or Colorado, when we had wide open skies, guys, we had no problems at all. We had plenty of signal. We had no dropouts, no latency issues, no buffering. We were able to stream videos. All of those things work really, really well with our Starlink. So if we want to use Starlink when we're traveling, we are going to have to now consider that when we book campsites. We're going to have to look at our campsites, determine what the obstructions are going to be, and whether or not we can live with those obstructions. Now, I'm going to do another video come fall, guys. I'm going to try and go camp somewhere with a lot of trees where all the leaves have fallen and see how much bare trees block the signal. So that'll be my next Starlink test video. But for now, guys, I wanted to just let you know that I think you can have reliable internet when camping. You just have to be selective with your campsites. So we're really happy with Starlink. Starlink has helped us tremendously. We are able to conduct our business while we travel, which is what makes 6-week trips like this possible, is working on the road with our business, Kemp Design Services. And so if you are working and traveling, I think you can rely on Starlink. You just have to be selective in your campsites. I want to thank Keep IT Simple Computer Services for sponsoring this video. They are awesome. They manage all of our IT infrastructure for Kemp Outside, Kemp Design Services, our other company called Kemp 3D. They take care of us when we're down, when we need something, when we need computers, anything we need, when we're having network issues, viruses, when we need new hardware, anything related to IT, they're our go-to. So I want to thank Keep IT Simple Computer Services. Guys, I'm going to put a link down below where you can contact Keep IT Simple Computer Services. They're located out of Riverview, Florida, but with the technology today, they can remote into all kinds of things. So even if you're not in Riverview, Florida, I'm sure for a lot of things they can service you. But if you are in Riverview, Florida, or the Brandon, Tampa, Florida area, and you're looking for an IT provider, definitely check out Keep IT Simple Computer Services. So guys, I want to thank you for watching. I am Kevin with Kemp Outside, your inside source for all things outside. We exist to help moms and dads take their kids camping, hiking, fishing, learn about nature, and develop a conservation ethic. We want to help you get you and your kids outside. And one of the things that we know is that sometimes to get outside, you need to maintain a reliable internet connection so you can take care of the stuff you need to take care of while you're getting out there. That's what we do, and so we get it. So hopefully that this has answered your questions regarding Starlink. If it hasn't, drop something in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you, answer any questions that you might have about using Starlink on the road. And you can also connect with us on our other social media. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and X, or our website at kempoutside.com. Guys, also, if you run Starlink while camping, drop something in the comments below on your experiences with Starlink. I'd love to hear what your results are. This has been part of our 2024 summer trip where we left our home in Tampa, Florida, drove all the way out to the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State and back. So lots of campsites, lots of camping videos, lots of exploring, lots of national parks, lots of state parks, all kinds of stuff. So if you like that stuff, definitely stick with us here at Kemp Outside. Guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.